So Browns announced Deshaun Watson out for the season, got an injury nagging, doesn't want to risk further damage, out for the season. So mortgaging the franchise for a star older quarterback. Let's look at the hit rate. Peyton Manning, Denver. He was great for 2-3 years. By year 4, precipitous decline. He won the Super Bowl, aged quickly. Denver still a mess. Tom Brady, Super Bowl year 1. Team declined each year after it. This year, they're 4-5. The biggest cap hit on the franchise is Tom Brady, $35 million. He's not playing, and he's $35 million cap hit. Matt Stafford, year 1 Super Bowl. Injuries and decline after, reportedly won't rework his deal. The Rams have many needs and can't solve all of them in this year's draft class. Aaron Rodgers, injured first series, entire franchise reeling, coach GM now on the hot seat. Russell Wilson, disaster, now just trying to salvage it with a brilliant coach. Deshaun Watson, promising, disaster, all the money guaranteed, this roster stacked, now flush the season into the toilet. Yeah. Even the ones that work, getting a veteran star expensive quarterback. The ones that work, you get a Super Bowl. And then it gets messy very fast. If you're going to do it, the way to do it appears to be free agency. You go sign Peyton Manning in Denver or Brady in Tampa, but you don't have to give up draft picks and players. That's probably the way to do it, and even those got ugly fast. But what you probably don't want to do is what Cleveland did with Deshaun or Denver did with Russell. So it's a trade. You give up draft capital or players. It's huge money before you're even sure if it works. At least the Rams waited to see if Matt Stafford worked. It did. They probably regret the contract now, but it did work, and they waited for it to work. So let's be honest. All these big moves, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Matt Stafford, Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, these weren't marginally talented guys. These are Hall of Fame level players. These are dominating players, great careers. None 0 for 6 have been perfect. None. Perfect, forget it. 6 for 6, either disaster or you'll have a mess on your hands. Diminishing returns. 6 for 6. 0 for 6 perfect. The best was Peyton Manning because you got multiple great years, MVP, and a couple Super Bowl appearances, blown out in one, you won the other. The worst is officially Deshaun Watson. It's not Russell Wilson because Russell plays every week. Deshaun now out for the year. So again, it sounds great and everybody gets excited. Multiple disasters, one that was pretty darn solid, Peyton Manning. Got to be happy with Tom, but Tom's now the biggest cap hit for Tampa, doesn't play at $35 million. So it's generally it's organizations having to salvage missing on quarterbacks. You're missing a Brock Osweiler. You know what I mean? You're missing a bunch of Cleveland Brown quarterback picks. You're basically the Jets. You miss on Zach Wilson. That's what it really comes down to. Your organization takes a big swing and misses at the most important position, and then you've got to overtrade, overspend, over-leverage the franchise to get an aging star who either has personality quirks, little odd, not a great locker room guy, or has had multiple surgeries, or is at the very end of his career. Never, ever. 0 for 6 on it all works out now and later. 0 for 6. So there was a story yesterday. And Dan Orlovsky played in the NFL. Now he's at the other place. Said he heard that Bill Belichick will take over as head coach and GM for a different NFL team next year. The location has already been determined. Well, that leads me to believe it would be Washington because they haven't determined anything with the Chargers. And he is an East Coast guy. Placed in Nantucket, lived in Foxborough, coached the Giants, offered the Jets job. He's an East Coast guy. I doubt at the end of his career he's moving west. I remember Tom Brady, the Chargers thought they had a chance for him, but Tom, even though he grew up in California, had spent so many years, placed in New York, went to Europe with his wife, Foxborough, he chose the East Coast. So I would guess Washington. I would not make the move. Now, on the surface, you're like, well, Washington, they got some nice skill players, and Bill doesn't draft those. But what they don't have is a star quarterback. They have Sam Howell, who deserves another year, but I don't think he's a hoist the trophy guy. So between Cleveland and New England, those two franchises, Bill has drafted 12 quarterbacks. He's had a home run with one. Jimmy Garoppolo got him in the second, traded him for a second. 1 for 12. Right? Now, the good news is, initially, they have Washington what Bill can't draft. Like weapons. But if Bill's your GM, he is an abject disaster. And that's being diplomatic. Just go to his 2022 draft class. Just go to one a year ago. 1 starter, 10 picks, most of it an utter disaster. Cut, traded, backup, cut, practice squad. These guys aren't even close. It's one thing if it takes 3 and 4 years to figure out a guy, or you move off him after 4 decent years of productivity. They're a year removed from this draft, 1 starter, and nobody looks like they can play. So there's another thing about Belichick that nobody talks about. Like when you're at your peak, the late Bobby Knight, when you're at your peak, the 70s, and you've got the energy and you're winning championships, how you treat people, you can get away with a lot of stuff. But as you age, your reputation follows you and precedes you. Look at Belichick's staff right now. I talked to an executive in the league before the season. He said, this is a weak staff. Why? Who wants to work for Belichick? Look at their current staff. It's retreads who have been fired, his kids, and some players who have worked for him and can tolerate him. Yeah, Bill is not getting the up-and-comers, the young, progressive offensive coaches with options. Not getting those guys. Patricia couldn't get along with anybody in Detroit. Josh McDaniels couldn't get along with anybody in Las Vegas. I heard a story 2 days ago that was brutal. Joe Judge couldn't get along with anybody in New York. He's bringing guys back who nobody wants. He's bringing guys back who are desperate. Like, so people, a lot of you are watching the Patriots, and you're saying the same thing everybody is, which is, God, they make special teams mistakes. They fumble more now, the penalties. Why? Remember, what happened? What happened is Bill's reputation has preceded him. The word is out from those who have left and gone on to greener pastures. He's very difficult. He won't listen to people. He takes over a draft, has no business doing it. Look at that staff right now. It's weak. It's people that aren't viable on the market. His kids, retreads, and players who have played for him. Years ago, Bill Belichick said, I only want to coach guys that I like. There's certain guys I won't coach. Well, I got news for you. Andy Reid, Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan. Can't love everybody in your locker room. These are young kids from all over the country. They come with baggage. They come with stuff. They're not perfect. They're human. If you're looking for a locker room that only people that will listen to you and like you, you'll look like the Patriots. So I would not hire him in Washington. I don't think he can build a great staff anymore. Look at the staff in New England. If he has general manager powers, go look at the 2022 draft. It's a disaster. I mean, already 1 starter, 1 receiver that's interesting, probably a 2 to a 3, and a guy's getting cut on the practice squad. I mean, again, you can go to anybody's draft and look 4 to 5 years later on. Green Bay drafts well. You can probably go 4 or 5 years later and go, well, we got, this safety, we got some games out of him, but we're not going to re-sign him. At least they're productive. You got 1 starter, an interior lineman, and no productivity from anybody else. He can't be your GM. Can't. Like, if you hire him, you deserve it. But Washington's got a new owner, a rich owner. It'd be a splashy hire. And this is what we say all the time. You're as good as your owner. You're as good as your owner, so be very careful. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.